right, guys, welcome to a Christmas edition of Lawyered Up. Once again, I'm your host, Jared Moore. And by now, you guys know the drill. If you have a question, pop it in the chat. I'll try to answer it if I can. Today's program, we're going to be talking about the recent dismissal of the Hooper case and kind of going through what happened there and what that was about. If you don't know anything about the Hooper case or what I'm talking about, just go ahead and go back and check out the coverage that we've already done, and that'll get you caught up. Or there's a link in the description that has all of the documentation that I'm going to be talking about here in a Google Drive, so you can go there, and most of those filings will have a recap of the case up until now in the different complaints and things. So with that being said, where we last left off with Hooper was there was going to be let me pop this up for you guys and we'll just jump right into the deep end. So there was there was a Zoom meeting, a Zoom hearing scheduled for December 4th in Hooper versus City of Tulsa. You can see here the minutes from it. We're going to get back to those minutes in a second. But before this was scheduled, the judge in this case said, hey, we have gotten a decision saying the City of Tulsa can't use the Curtis Act as a justification for their jurisdiction. So what the judge said was he told the City of Tulsa, hey, we're going to have this Zoom meeting on the 4th. I want you guys to write a response to this to tell me what your new justification is going to be since you can't use the Curtis Act, right? And so this is what Tulsa filed. And this is the argument they issued for the ongoing jurisdiction. Let me pop that up. So basically, and you guys can read the whole thing if you want to, in a nutshell, let's see here, I want page 4. What they claimed is this, and this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm not a lawyer, that their jurisdiction is under Castro Huerta. Now, the reason the argument doesn't make a lot of sense to me is because I'm going to click right over here, and you can see the summation of Castro Huerta. What the decision is Victor Manuel Castro Huerta, a non-native, was convicted in Oklahoma State Court of child neglect, and he was sentenced to 35 years. The victim, his stepdaughter, is Native American, and the crime was committed within Cherokee Reservation. So those are the specifics of Castro Huerta, where you have a non-native committing crime against native, which is not covered on the 1989 Greater Crimes Act, right? And so the tribe wouldn't have jurisdiction over him anyway. But the argument here that Tulsa's making for their jurisdiction is that because Castro Huerta gave the state preemptive jurisdiction over a non-native in a case where there's a crime committed against a native, then the City of Tulsa has jurisdiction over a native, which that's the leap that I don't understand. And it didn't fly very well with the judge because I'm going to click right over here. We're looking at the minutes from that meeting. So we have the December 4th minutes, what time it happened. And then down here we can see the proceedings. So court was in session. Mr. Dunn begins the argument, and it goes through here where the court asks a question of Mr. Gray, and et cetera, et cetera. And then down here at 151, the court rules that a final order will be entered soon after the court reviews the 10th Circuit's remand. Court is in recess. So basically what the judge said there was, I've heard your argument, and I'm going to issue my final order, but first I'm going to look over this remand. In other words, he's going to see what the case that was remanded down to them, what they should do. In other words, he's basically telling everybody in court right there that he's going to dismiss this case, not too subtly, right? Now let's look at the judgment for this case. Now there was also in these documents that are in that folder, there's a Hooper order of dismissal, and then there's also this judgment. I'm just going to read the judgment because they're basically the same thing, and the judgment is the most recent thing that was posted. But that's just a procedural thing. Let's take a look at it, guys. So here we have the United States, Justin Hooper versus City of Tulsa. Judgment of dismissal without prejudice on the mandate. It says this matter before the court is under Fed R Civil P58, and the court having entered its order of dismissal without prejudice on remand from the 10th Circuit. Therefore, it is ordered, adjudged, and decreed. 1. As a matter of 10th Circuit law, Section 14 of the Curtis Act no longer applies to Tulsa, and therefore Tulsa no longer has jurisdiction over municipal violations committed by its Indian inhabitants. 2. This court lacks subject matter jurisdiction over Mr. Hooper's appeal from the municipal court, and the appeal is dismissed without prejudice. So what they're saying there is this court can't hear Mr. Hooper's appeal that he filed in the municipal court. Pretty cut and dry. 3. To the extent plaintiff seeks further declaratory relief, the court lacks jurisdiction to grant such relief. And 4. All remaining claims are dismissed without prejudice for the lack of jurisdiction, and civil case is closed. So what that without prejudice means, so cases can be dismissed or closed with or without prejudice. Without means you can file it again in a different court. With prejudice means it's done and you can't file it again. Just to clarify there. So that's where we are right now as far as Hooper. Though that's what the law is saying, is that Tulsa doesn't have any municipal jurisdiction over natives in this that are in the jurisdiction. Now, there's been some stories that have run, and I want to touch on this wrinkle too. The Mvskoke Creek Nation in November filed I think it's a civil lawsuit against the city of Tulsa for its continued enforcement of these tickets. So Tulsa is still writing natives tickets while this case was being heard. And the objective of this complaint that they filed, let me pop it up for you guys. So in the Northern District, they filed a complaint. And I'm going to go down to, if you guys want to read this argument here, though, it's good. It gives a history of the case, yada, yada, like what I was talking about. But let's go down here to what they're asking the court to do. Let me get down here. Too far. Here we go. Prayer for relief. So this is what the Creek Nation is asking the district court to do to help them. It says, wherefore the nation respectfully requests that this court, A, enter a declaratory judgment pursuant to 28 U.S.C. Section 2201 in favor of the nation that Tulsa lacks criminal jurisdiction over Indians for conduct occurring within the Creek Reservation, and that Tulsa's continued assertion of that jurisdiction violates federal law. B, preliminarily and permanently enjoin Tulsa from exercising criminal jurisdiction over Indians for conduct occurring within the Creek Reservation absent express authorization from Congress. And C, award the nation its reasonable attorney's fees, costs, and other such relief as a court deems just and appropriate. And that's it. You can see here A.G. Wisner's on there. So what they're saying there is an injunction and permanent enjoinment of Tulsa is saying you guys can't write tickets for Indians anymore. That's basically what it's saying. Where this case stands, this is a separate case from Hooper, but where this case stands right now is the last thing that was heard in it, I believe, was in December 8th or so, and the city of Tulsa had filed a rebuttal to this to say, hey, they're going to lose this. I'm just paraphrasing it in a nutshell, but they were saying, hey, they're going to lose this case, this Hooper case, so let's just wait and see how that turns out, because they're going to lose it anyway, and then this will be moot, right? This won't make a difference. But they didn't. The Mvskoke Creek Nation didn't lose. The case got dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. So now this civil lawsuit's going to be heard out the rest of the way, and it's not going to be good for Tulsa because And there's been some reporting that G.T. Bynum is saying that they're going to keep writing traffic tickets the way that they have been doing it. I don't know why he's saying that. It's not a good idea, because that's going to play into this lawsuit big time. He's going to have a problem. I got an email from a citizen wanting me to get a comment from the administration, particularly about this story that is on public radio here by Max Bryant, Public Radio Tulsa, where G.T. Bynum says, right here, let me pop it up for you guys. Bynum has argued that a tribal municipal framework of governance would solve legal issues related to city ordinances and tribal sovereignty. He believes legal issues would become irrelevant if the Mvskoke, Cherokee, and Osage tribes recognized Tulsa as a tribal city in their constitutions, something he says he's discussed with 2 of the principal chiefs. So I got a email from a citizen saying, hey, could you find out if this, get a quote from the Creek Nation administration to see, is that true? And this is what I got from the administration. Quote, the mayor's office has no formal discussion, quote, the mayor's office has had no formal discussion regarding the Hooper case with the Mvskoke Nation, end quote. So that's where we are. And that's coming from the Creek Nation. That's from Chief Hill's office. So according to Chief Hill, nobody's talked to him. So he's not one of those 2 chiefs that's referenced there. I think we've covered all the bases there. Let me see. Again, this is a big win for the tribe, and it's a big win for tribal citizens. At a minimum, one of the things I think, in my opinion, that this is going to guarantee is that some share of the money that's going into these municipal taxes or municipal tickets and things in Tulsa is going to come back down to the tribe to help fund our tribal courts and our tribal police and those things, which is good in my opinion. I do hope and think that there will be an agreement that'll be worked out between the city of Tulsa and the tribe, but G.T. Bynum really needs to watch what he's saying in the media, because they've got this ongoing civil lawsuit, and they really need to be contacting the Creek Nation and Chief's office and working out some type of jurisdictional agreement, unless they're going to spend some more of Tulsa's taxpayer money to try to fight this up to the Supreme Court, or whatever they could do if they could file more lawsuits, or etc. All of the stuff in Tulsa's response where they talk about Castro Huerta as the justification references Oklahoma courts. So no courts outside of Oklahoma have used this justification, and the federal judge in this particular case didn't go with it. So that's where we are, and I don't see any questions in the chat there. I don't know if you guys heard the news about Bacone, but there was a sheriff's sale that was scheduled for I think it was December 15th, that right before December 14th, the entity MHEC that Bacone owed the $1.6 million judgment to called that sale off. I had to do a lot of reading on back at the start of the year when the first sheriff's sale was scheduled, because I didn't know anything about sheriff's sales. But when I was reading about that, that's one of the things that was in there, is they said these sheriff's sale processes can take up to 2-3 years, because basically what's happening is the person who's owed the money, in this case it's MHEC, is owed the $1.6 million from Bacone. They want to make sure that when the auction part happens, the sheriff's sale happens, that the property is sold for enough money so that they can get paid their money, right? And if it doesn't look like that's going to happen, MHEC has the ability to call off the sheriff's sale, and that's what happened in this particular instance. T.Y. Pearl says, I've got a question about Strobel. What's up? Strobel, oral arguments in that case are going to happen in January. I believe it's the 18th. I've been doing some digging to see if there's going to be audio published anywhere from those oral arguments on the court side. It doesn't look like there is, but right now that's what I'm trying to see if I can get a recording of those oral arguments, or live stream the oral arguments or something like that for you guys, because I think it will be interesting for everybody to hear what's the questions and the arguments that are presented before the Oklahoma Supreme Court on that. But as of right now, it doesn't look like there's any official way to get that audio. Their website doesn't have anything. There are some guys on YouTube, though, that have posted oral arguments from the Oklahoma Supreme Court in other cases, and I don't know if those guys are going into court and recording them, or it's some type of streaming thing, or maybe they were doing it during COVID because it was a Zoom meeting. I don't know. I got to do some more digging on that, but I'm going to try to do that. I know I told you guys we're going to have Travis Scott on, but I think we're going to push that back to January because it's Christmas week and people, like nobody wants to have to do something like that on Christmas week. So we have a live wire tomorrow with Brittany Harlow from Verified News Network. And she's coming on live wire tomorrow at 4 because what we're going to be talking about is they have an opportunity that people could sign up for to get paid, so you get paid to take journalism classes in the evening for citizen journalists, right? And it says it's up to $600. So if you guys want to make an easy $600 and also maybe set up some networking, you want to make some side money, right? And submit some freelance stuff to local news or whatever, or just be a citizen journalist, tune in tomorrow at 4 o'clock. You can ask Brittany whatever questions you want. If you haven't ever seen Verified News Network, they're on the internet. Just Google them and check out all their stuff. They run our stuff on their channel too, so they've been good partners with us. Other than that, guys, I think we're good. Gary's show is still kind of up in the air. I think what we're going to do is pre-record Gary's program and just schedule it to launch on his normal broadcast day, but we'll see what's going on with that, and we'll work out how it's going to happen. We're still trying to work the kinks out of that process. So, my tongue's already on vacation. Mado for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later. Chihichoth, Lees.